welcome again. Today's chat is going to be about quitting smoking. I've actually had a bit of an influx of people asking about quitting smoking and reading it. And generally they'll ask, well, how much does it cost and that kind of stuff. And I'll give a generalised answer of 1 to 3 sessions. So I thought it would be good to talk a bit more about that from the financial perspective, but also the process of how I go about helping people quit smoking. And before I go into that, I really want people to understand that I once was a smoker, and so I know what, in general, a lot of people are going through if you're still a smoker. And certainly when I quit smoking, I wasn't one person that would go, out there and saying, you should quit smoking and that kind of thing. It wasn't for me to do that because I knew the trap that I was in, that psychological trap with smoking and the addiction, and how much it took from my life and the control it really took away from me. And I was thinking also, it's quite funny, I used to do for quite a while training in mental health first aid. For those that don't know, it's like your first aid for injuries and things like that, but this was for mental health first aid, which is a really valuable and good course to help people in certain situations in relation to mental health. However, I used to do that training, and one of the ironies was that I used to take along quit smoking information and books because it was one of those things. I knew how much it affected people and their lives, and the guilt and the fear, and people were actually, it was one of the most important things I felt. I did the first mental health first aid, which gave them a lot of good information and help, but then to provide a book to the smokers was one of the things that I love to do, because I knew it was, for a lot of people, that was a big thing in their life. That's quite quiet. So good on everyone who's deciding or looking at saying it's time. That's really good. Enough of that. When I will generally say 1 to 3 sessions in regards to costs, fees, how many sessions, the question. But there's a couple of ways of doing that, and I guess I sometimes just hand out that sort of model so that people can sort of get a sense of how long it would take, because people are all really different. You can do one program, and I say if I'm doing what we might say is a relaxation class or something like that, I can run through a script, which I don't, by the way, but you can run through a script. However, each person is different. So even when I do a relaxation class, for instance, I will take in information from each person, and I will individually attend to whatever they need, or they may have a tense back, or they may have this or that or the other. So just like someone who has an addiction or an issue, it's the individual, and each one is different. Yes, somewhat the same model, but each is different. So that's when I say 1 to 3 sessions, and why we do it. And so for some people quitting smoking, there's things that adversely affect their lives as well. So reducing stress and all of that kind of thing is important. So there's 2 models. One is, for that person, is an upfront fee. So bang, I want to commit to this call it a program, but we commit to this quitting smoking, and that may include 3 sessions, okay? And I'm going to pay you up front because I want to commit to that and I want that to happen now. And the other one is that they pay per session. Some people like to do it that way, and so they take the journey and they just pay as they go, because they may feel like they may be quicker, or they may actually believe that they may need more support along the trail. So there's 2 models, so it's really important that the person chooses which one's best for them, because I know there's some people that go, no, I'm doing it, I am paying that money, and I'm going to get myself there, and I'm going to take care of this. So if that works for you, just contact me and go that model. And the other way is per session. And so also it's important that I give you some information about how I approach it. The first session, generally, taking into account that everyone's a bit different, the first session is about that establishing that strong commitment, but also starting to demystify and, you know, take away the strength of smoking. And that's, you know, people generally will say, oh, well, yeah, it costs a lot of money, which is a truth. And you start to add these things up. And I don't need to sell too much to people about the negatives to smoking. However, doing it from first of all, it's a simple cognitive or a thought process way, and starting to go, yeah, this isn't, you know, I really don't like that, and that's actually what it is really useful in your commitment and understanding really why you're giving up, because smoking is a trick of the mind a lot of the time, and a lot of statements, and so clearly getting that down. But secondly, in that first session or so, is getting people used to the idea of hypnosis. And a lot of people quitting smoking, they really do connect up hypnosis, which is fantastic. And going to hypnosis, though, sometimes can be a bit of they're not quite sure about hypnosis, and it's also about demystifying that and what hypnosis actually is. And someone said to me, and I actually read it myself, which was, I can't recall who that was, but their quote was that hypnosis was the alternative to the alternatives, in that sometimes people associate hypnosis in the esoteric or you know, more, I guess, intuitive therapies and that kind of thing. And it can venture over there into, you know, you may ask for past life regression and that kind of stuff. But hypnosis and the experience of it is really important, because it demystifies it for people, and they actually see how useful and how actually feels quite nice to do hypnosis, and that they're actually in control and they're accessing themselves. And that's important, because smoking, it literally takes away the power. Let's get real. It takes away your power, and you want that power back now. You want that power back. And that is one of the biggest things that I remember with smoking, was it took away my power. I was doing a lot of successful things when I smoked. I was at university and I was working a job and taking care of a family, so I was doing reasonably well under a lot of stress. I was doing great and moving my life forward. Yet there was this itching thing behind me, which was I didn't feel so good because this smoking and this addiction took my power away. And so regaining that power and belief in yourself is really important. And demystifying and deconstructing some of our beliefs is really important in the initial stages, but getting used to the idea or understanding what hypnosis really is, and that's really, your unconscious mind is there to work for you, and it's going to take your power and give it back to you and approach smoking in a different way. So once we've done that, and we've looked at each person in their own way and how we set the sessions out, the next session, once that commitment's, you know, confirmed, clear in the head, and some people would already stop before the second session, and that second session is about accessing and using hypnosis to really strengthen up and turn up and turn down certain things in your body. So really turning up the disgust of smoking and all of those things that it's really done, you no longer want, and it's about powering you up. And that's what the second session is. The third session, if required, is just a concreter. Okay? And one of the really good things with hypnosis, and I refer here as well beyond smoking or any other thing, is one of the greatest things I remember, in the research articles and that about hypnosis, and in this is pain management and, surgery without drugs, which thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people have done, and it happens daily in dentists, doctors, surgeries everywhere. I remember reading the research article from Belgium, and their findings I was surprised about is 1 year later, beyond the surgery, that these people's quality of life, they reported, was far better. in that by doing hypnosis it actually help improve their life beyond the surgery. So that's one of the wonderful things that I believe hypnosis really helps with as well. And you start to discover a way of, a really nice, easy way of starting to make your life a lot better. And beyond quitting the smoking is you're going to feel wonderful when you quit that smoking and you make that step to quit that smoking. It's going to add on top of that and probably open up some avenues to seeing your life differently as well. I mean, that's wonderful. Imagining yourself, being happy and in control, or a bit more in control of your life, is really good and important and a wonderful thing to happen. So, just wrapping up, as I transgressed again, is that there's the upfront fee model, which is ready to go. Let's rock and roll, let's do this. Let's get rid of this smoking now. And the other one is the pay per session, okay? And I understand the bind and the craziness of thinking around, smoking addictions and things like that, whether that be eating addictions or whatever, is that going and spending, let's say it's $1,000. Imagine I'm going to spend $1,000 to stop my addiction to, let's say, pokie machines or something like gambling. I'm going to spend $1,000 to quit that. We would, if you were a gambler and you're addicted to gambling, whatever form, in your mind you would say, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to spend on myself, is the statement. And then you go, okay, I'm not going to spend that money, and we all know the game. I'm not going to spend that money because that's really expensive to quit gambling. And of course, within the next week, the person has gambled away more than $1,000. So it's a model we have to set up where we need to, in a way, look into the future and look back as well. And is it worth $1,000, let's say? I'm going high here. Is it worth $1,000? Is it worth $10,000 to you to quit smoking? Would it be worth $100,000 to quit smoking? And I think most of us would answer $10,000, $100,000 if you had that to quit smoking. I think you'd use it because it comes back in many, many ways positively. All right, enough of that. Thank you for your time. I hope this has helped some people with regards to how I do quit smoking, or the way that the sessions are set up, or the pricing and that kind of thing. Thank you for your time. I do have some other videos coming out, which I promised I would. And I did record some of them. I just haven't downloaded them yet, but we'll get back into that. I have been doing some other things that have taken my time, but I will get back into that. And thank you everyone for commenting on my videos and that kind of stuff in person as well, and other avenues. I appreciate that, and hopefully they continue to help people, and hopefully I can continue to help people. Thank you very much.